Welcome to You Rolled a 1. We continue with overheard conversations during the Siege of Seafall. Last episode, Nictor spoke to his mentor, Friar Gunnar, and Demeclees interrupted a grieving Cedric the Tamir. This episode takes place about 2.5 months into the Siege of Seafall, making it about middle of October, 1172. Let's see what we can hear this time during the Siege of Seafall. Demeclees, you are summoned by Doodles, as you call him, to the personal library of the Tamir in Castle Seafall. Inside, you find Henry Stormrider poring over a map of the local area.
Henry, I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Ah, Demeclees, perfect, you're here. Come in, please. Sit. I have many things to discuss with you, and you have a fine strategic mind.
Tell me, what is it you're working on? You seem wrapped in maps and figurines. This is Seafall, is it not, the map?
Indeed it is, Demeclees. I keep poring over this map, thinking there is something that we're missing. We have about 315 fighting souls inside Seafall, not a significant force, and yet I keep thinking there must be a clever way to ensure that the enemy stays on the other side of those walls. They do not have the manpower or ships to fully blockade the port, allowing us to bring in supplies and continue to fish for food for those townsfolk still in the city.
It is a stalemate of sorts. The longer we wait, the stronger they grow, but the less we do. But we have the ability to stay for a long time. Perhaps, have we no allies that we can send to? We need to put pressure on them so that they must break the siege before we run out of supplies and trading.
Your observations, Demeclees, are spot on. And yet, I think it may be weeks or possibly months before our allies, specifically the Sultan, who we have sent messages to, can come to our aid with any type of sizable force. I think we'll have to ensure that we survive at least until the winter without any real support from other houses. It reminds me of a game, truthfully. Have you ever played chess, Demeclees?
Oh yes, chess was all part of our training as gnomes growing up.
Isabella Ravenshield and I used to play during my captivity at Vardant Hollow. And that bitch, every time I lost, she would give me a new scar.
And he moves up his cloak to see like crisscross scars on his arms, and then moves his collar to show you more scars on his shoulders.
I lost many games to her, but I feel like I know her as an opponent.
Such a vicious human. The fates have brought her towards our shores. Perhaps we will be the revenge of the universe upon her. One can only hope. Let me ask you, were there times when she would attack you aggressively and you were put upon the defensive?
A keen observation again, Demeclees. Yes, she was a ruthless attacker across the board, unrelenting, and also vain. She would consistently fall into my traps as the years wore by, and I was able to better understand the game and my opponent. I began to gain fewer and fewer scars as she would relentlessly pursue across the board.
Well, my guess is one of the lessons that I learned is when someone has played the game aggressively and forced us into a defensive mode, oftentimes that means we're playing the game they want us to play. And it's important in chess to make the other player play the game you want them to play. So the question for you, Henry, is what game do you want her playing during this siege? And what, possibly, could you do to change the game she's playing?
Exactly, Demeclees. That is the right question. When I was playing chess with Isabella those last few years, she could not beat me, and so she began to torture me regardless of the outcome of the game. So I changed the game. Instead of playing chess upon the board, we played chess upon the floor with the lives of the other prisoners. Take a piece, and that was the end of the prisoner's life. She loved this game, and so it created a huge demand for prisoners that were brought in by the cartload to satisfy her bloodlust.
Sounds like a vastly difficult situation. You no doubt saved some lives, but also had to play and make many sacrifices. How does one deal with such burden of murder on the soul?
An interesting question, Demecles, and one I have not dwelt long on myself. At first the games were just to keep the torturer's knife away from my flesh, but over time it mattered little whether those on the board lived or died, and I was not interested in trying to preserve all life, but simply to win the game.
You must be careful when you play with pigs, for you wind up smelling like one yourself. It is a thing to look into the abyss and to study with curiosity as you have, but realize the abyss also stares back into you, and you yourself take on some of those traits. Yes, it is true. As a leader, you must see things bigger. You make difficult decisions worthy of sacrifice, but a good leader remembers that those choices, those things that you're moving around on the board, are representations of real people, actual lives, actual brothers, sisters, families that have real effect. You see, when she was moving those pawns on the board, sacrificing them for her pleasure, she sees herself better as worthy of moving those pawns. I suggest that while we learn from that experience, you do not embrace it as a way of thinking as a leader, for everybody here is more than just a pawn. They are Seafall.
They are indeed Seafall, Demecles. And speaking of them, I have another quandary that I will put to a mind such as yours. I have returned from this captivity to discover 3 half-siblings from a new wife to my father. They all have claims to the throne. Though it is mine by right to be head of house, they still have claim nonetheless. Do you think that this is a peaceful matter, or something that needs a harsher touch?
Well, by right, sir, you have the throne. You are in line. Thankfully, all these things have been decided for you, and are decided for your sons after they are born, and for all the generations past. And by removing them as options, what do you mean?
Nothing obvious, of course, Demecles. My half-siblings, however, might have a misadventure while they pursue one of their interests, allowing them to be removed from the game.
My only fear, sir, is that when you make moves that threaten large beasts or enemies, you must be willing to take a similar sign of sacrifice upon thyself. Realize every move has a reaction.
Perhaps, Demecles. But I've also thought about perhaps rewriting the rules to better suit the game I want to play.
But you're forgetting one thing. I can always do this. And Demecles flips over the whole table, knocking all the pieces off. Once the game is broken, you've changed the entire game completely. These moves are based upon a board, where everyone is playing by certain rules. If you don't like the lay of the table, you can always flip over the table. And playing games with someone willing to do that, that's a different game entirely.
Aha! Demecles, you've given me an idea. A brilliant idea. You're right. Winter will change the rules of the game. We don't need to defeat our enemies sitting outside the gates. We just have to hold them until winter. Winter will change the rules of the game. Leave me, Demecles. I must ponder what these new rules might be, and how we can better position ourselves to take advantage of them, now that things will be rewritten.
Very good, sir. Let me know what game you're playing in the future.
I will do so, Demecles, and know that you have a place here in Seafall by my side, regardless of the outcome of my half-siblings.
I appreciate the loyalty, sir. It is equally received. I will extricate myself quietly.
We now shift to Manx, who's been tending the wounded in the Church of Mara. For weeks upon end, he's worked with little sleep, since there are not many healers in the city of Seafall. Let's listen in and see how he's doing now. So you find yourself, after a long day of bandaging wounds and helping somewhat disabled to completely disabled people, basically do physical therapy to get them back into full working order, so stretching muscles, changing and bandaging. You find yourself exhausted, sitting at the Silver Stag. As you plonk down at the bar and are quickly given a French onion soup, which has been on the menu nearly every day over the past 60 days, you look to your side and you see Saeed, the guard captain, now fully healed from his previous wounds in the raid that you also helped cure him of.
Saeed, how are you, my friend? How are the drills coming along in the courtyard?
Hello, Manx. Good to see you for dinner. These townsfolk aren't much better than scarecrows, truth be told. Don't go telling them that, though, of course.
I wouldn't dream of it. Right? Your captain thinks so highly of you, and I raise my glass.
There are cheers in the tavern.
I take a big drink, and then I give him a big wink.
Saeed grins at you.
Good one, Manx. That'll keep up their spirits.
Best to keep morale up while we prepare for some of the nastiness to come. I say in a very quiet tone.
Hi. Things do seem a little bit strange around here. So much excitement, and yet so much boring, all at once. Tell me, Manx, why do you remain here in Seafall? You owe no allegiance to Cedric. You did not grow up here, as I did. I am sure you could walk out those gates past the siege lines, and no one would stop you. Why do you choose to stay here and fight, and risk your life?
Well, Saeed, was it not you that fought to your own detriment by my side? Was it not the people in the town that were under attack by the goblins on the first day that I ever set foot in this fair city? I don't believe that the random machinations of the universe are in any way truly random. I believe that we all have a purpose to play in the tumultuous chaos of the tides of life that we seem to ride. I've found wonderful people here, and I've met friends, not the least of which is you, and I don't think that war is the answer. I think that wherever war goes, unwarranted, like the war that Ravenshield has brought to your doorstep, I think that there is a beauty to defending the world against so much hatred. And so I sit, and I will fight with you, my friend.
How poetic, Manx. Looks like you might be a damn fine preacher after all. I don't write much poetry myself, but I do like the softer side of things. I'm not exactly sure how I became captain of the Tide Guard. I mean, I'm big. I can carry a shield and blade as good as the next man. But truthfully, I just owed the Tamir a debt, and years later, here I am, captain of the Tide Guard. I've never been through a siege like this before. I'm training these boys how to fight so that they can get through battles on their own. But I've never been through a battle like this on my own either. I don't really know if what I'm teaching them is going to help them survive. I'm just hoping that it's better than nothing. Then again, I guess if we're all gonna die, better to die together. So come hell or high water, here we are.
Listen, there's a reason that you don't see me drilling in your courtyard every day, and it's because outside of, a little bit of training that I've had with a rapier, I'm pretty much shit at fighting. So I promise not only are you better than I, but these men look up to you, and I think that what you said is true. It doesn't really matter if you're defending your home. What else could you ask for?
What about your home, Manx? Do you have any family where you're from?
Not really. I had a mentor once, who's probably the closest thing to a father that I ever had. I was raised in a small town, basically in an orphanage, for, whatever scraps me and the other kids could find. But then there was this man. He was eccentric but kind, and he took me in. And he was a lay priest, and he showed me how to stitch a wound and perform the rites and take care of the sick, the dying, and then to continue taking care of them after their death. And so that was probably the closest thing I had to a father.
We are similar, you and I, Manx. I never knew my mother or my father. I was left on the Tamir's doorstep when I was just over 1 year old. Apparently, they were merchants, made a quick profit here in Seafall, and then had to leave town quickly. And so the Tamir took me in, and I became a member of his household. Not a noble, of course, but his son Henry was about the same age, so we played together and drilled in the courtyard in all manner of arms. When Henry disappeared, I felt like I owed the Tamir a debt, and so I joined the Tide Guard, eventually becoming Tide Guard captain, as you see me today. But between you and I always wanted to be a farmer, growing peas and carrots and tomatoes, maybe even some fruit like strawberries. I always liked watching things grow. It always seemed so magical that you could grow something from a small seed. After this siege is over, I think I might hang up my soldiering boots, find myself a wife, some land, and become that farmer. Seems like a pretty nice life, eh, Manx?
There was a time when I would have yearned for that, and it might yet be in your future, Saeed. I happen to know that one of the greatest vegetable farmers that I've ever met lost his farm, and I was there sadly when he died, and then I was there sadly when a few days later his farm was burned with this Raven Shield advancement. If we don't all die in this city, which I plan not to, then we'll all need things to do afterwards, and that farm will have to be rebuilt. So there may be an out, but also you should know that these men look up to you, and that's not something to be taken lightly.
No, of course not, Manx. We will not shirk our duty now. The townsfolk are relying on people like you and I to keep them steady in these trying times. But I can't help but remember my time patrolling the market, talking to Elias Greenleaf, and sometimes Roderick Onionhands too. It was all hush-hush at the time, but apparently they're crossbreeding a new variety of sweet onion. I don't know if anything ever came of it, but I know it's damn good French onion soup from Roderick right in front of you there.
Yeah, and as stalwart as the menu can be around here, I can't knock it for lack of flavor, and I take a big bite of the soup. It is delicious.
The soup is fantastic. There is no cheese topping, but it is made with fresh bread in the top of it, and it does fill you with a surprisingly hearty warmth.
Would I know or understand if this was slight magical effect?
To the best of your knowledge, it does not seem arcane. It does seem unnatural, but it does not seem arcane.
Well, that's lovely. And you feel as though you're destined to be a vegetable farmer? Give these men everything you've got, and then, I say, retirement is completely of your choosing, sir.
Do you have a wife, Manx, somewhere in the wider world? Or perhaps maybe you had one?
No, I don't know what I would do with a wife, so I don't have one.
That doesn't make any sense, Manx. I don't have a wife, but I know that I want one. What's the point of growing beautiful vegetables if you don't have anyone to share them with?
Well, you make a good point, my friend. Settling down in a quiet life does sound a little bit better if you have someone to share that quiet life with, now doesn't it?
Sounds like a pretty good life to me, Megs. Sounds like a life worth fighting for. Bye, Mara's Grace. Look at me. We're under siege, and here I am talking about growing vegetables and having a wife.
You're talking about the most important thing of all, Saeed. You're talking about the hopes and dreams. This is what we're fighting for. This is what we need to protect. We can't just sit here and fight for the sake of fighting, like House Ravenshield seems to be intent upon. We need to protect the things so that there can be space in the world for wives and vegetables and children. And I hope that you can live peacefully for many years and enjoy all three after this is all said and done.
You really think that I could have a vegetable farm? I mean, I've always dreamed of such a thing, and I know that Cedric could just grant it to me. But he's already done so much for me, I never really thought that I would have the coin to purchase one outright. So I always thought it was just a dream.
I think if you win him a war, a vegetable farm is the least you could ask for.
I mean, I guess. I never really thought about asking for something to win this siege. Doing so always just felt like my duty.
I think you're selling yourself short, Saeed. Man your stature, with the inspiration that you draw from the men around you. I stand up and I say, "Who here is with the captain?" I raise my glass again.
And there's resounding cheers throughout.
You, my friend, you're a force to be reckoned with, and all you have to do is sit here and enjoy a bowl of onion soup. I think the farm is a lot closer than you think once we're done with this nasty siege business.
Well, Manx, if we get through this siege together, I hope you'll come visit me on my farm. And you can tell me how straight my rows of strawberries and carrots are, even though I don't have the foggiest idea how to grow them, or if they're even supposed to be grown in rows.
Well, just so long as I get to sample the crop is all I'm concerned about, and I give him a wink.
You're too kind, Manx. Thank you for sitting with me and brightening up my dinner. It's my time for watch, so I best get along and check on the boys. Thank you for keeping my head attached to my shoulders. I rather like it that way. And please do keep an eye out for me. I'd like to continue to be on this side of the vegetable patch, if you know what I mean.
I hope it's many years before we have to put you under a vegetable patch, my friend. Many, many long years.
One more thing, preacher. If I don't make it through this siege, bury me in a strawberry patch. I've always loved strawberries. Have a good night, Manx. Mara be with you.
And with that, Saeed turns, leaves the tavern, and walks out into the night, leaving his spoon and bowl on the table between you. Thanks for listening to this episode of You Rolled a 1. If you'd like to learn more about the world of Belcar, or perhaps play a game there yourself, check out our YouTube page, TikTok, or Instagram. If you'd like to talk to the players themselves, join our Discord. Thanks for listening to You Rolled a 1. And remember, trying to high-five your boss to only slap them directly in the face is a real-life rolling a 1.